Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show. My name is Tom Marks, Associate Editor here at PC Gamer, and your host as always. A lot of you guys will hopefully notice, if you're watching live, that we're changed a few things up here and there. We've got a little bit of a different show style for you. If you're listening on the podcast, hopefully nothing will be different for you. But you know, we're in 1080p now. That's a big deal, and got some intro music for you. I know.
You can see every little detail.
I know.
Every pore on our face.
Next week 1440. The week after that 4K. No,
beautiful. I love the ramp up.
Joining me making silly faces to my left right here is James Davenport.
That's me. Hello.
James, how you doing?
Good. Just had some beans. Had some beans for lunch.
I'm really not happy about being in a locked room with you for an hour and a half then. Joining me far away from his beans is Steven Mesner. Steven, how are you?
Thanks to the magic of smell-o-vision, I will be able to join you on this journey. I'm doing really well, man. Thanks for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure.
We always love having you.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. The blush.
We've got a billion resubs already right now. Kunifu for 15 months, Flaxcam for 6 months.
Time's flying.
Hazma's Muffins for 7, and Pumpkin 8119 for 5.
Damn.
You guys are all great.
Man, you guys all rock. Thank you. And we're entering a new generation of the show a little bit. So forgive some if there are any, like hitches here and there. Just bear with us, but we're happy to be here presenting for you. So let's jump into it. What do we got today? We're going to be talking about what we've been playing lately, of course. We're going to be talking about Forza Horizon 3's Hot Wheels DLC, which is a blast. I'll wait because I could literally just start talking for 20 minutes about that. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Divinity Original Sin 2's Game Master mode, which I got my hands on. I'm also going to be, and we're also going to be talking about Prey, which you two guys have been playing a bit.
Yes.
And we released our review of on Monday?
Something like that. Tuesday, maybe.
Monday?
Tuesday.
There you go.
Tuesday.
Yeah, so it's a good show. I think we're gonna have fun in this new.
We are gonna have fun.
It's gonna be a blast, guys. Come on, up the energy.
Can't wait.
Hey, should we make some resolutions for our new resolution?
How long have you been sitting on that?
Actually, I just thought that.
For months, Tom has had that in a
new resolution
piece of paper in his pocket so he doesn't forget it.
Yeah. Well, So let's start out though with some latest news, just some tidbits of what we've been talking about lately. Because there's some good stuff.
What's going on?
Man. So I wrote when I throughout the week I try to keep track of just some of the things that we could be talking about in this section. And up until this morning, one of the things in that section was, Vanquish got another teaser.
Yeah. Now,
as of this morning, hey guys, Vanquish is officially announced for PC, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been told it's exciting.
Have either of you guys played it?
No.
Yes.
You have, back in the day. When did it come out? Like, it's
2010.
Damn.
Yeah, 2010. It's an old game, but it's a goodie. I don't remember it too well, to be honest, but I remember it being very, very fun. I mean, it's a platinum character action game. You can't really go wrong with that formula.
That uncapped frame rate, right?
Yeah, uncapped frame rate, uncapped resolution, not like Bayonetta, which is 60 FPS max.
It's going to benefit so much from that. Like, when I started playing Bayonetta, I'd never played a Bayonetta originally, but going into it, with no expectations, it felt like on the PC at high resolution, high frame rate, it felt like a modern game. Apart from like some environmental design, the animation in Platinum's games is just astounding. And looking at this right now,
it looks so good.
It looks, I mean, there are some things that look a little dated, like a few textures on the floor and so on, but
it doesn't look old. If you told me that game was from 2010, I would be like, oh, that's kind of okay. Sure.
Yeah. So that's so exciting. It looks ridiculous too, and I hear it's really good. So
yeah, I haven't played it at all. Like, I haven't even seen it be played besides just the occasional gameplay video. So like, I'm really excited to come into this fresh.
Me too. $20. If you own Bayonetta on Steam, you get like 25% off. Too, I think so.
It's crazy generous.
It's
like
bonkers.
$15.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
God. anyway.
I mean,
It's a good deal.
It must be a sign of like of Sega clearly liking what's been happening with Valkyria and been happening with Bayonetta, and also are they the Tales folk? I can't remember if Sega
maybe
did Tales.
publish,
Anyway, but clearly they like what they've seen so far in the games that they have ported over.
Good sign of things to come.
Yeah.
I've seen that with like a lot of Japanese developers though, because
Yeah.
like Square has also been obviously having a great time releasing Final Fantasy games on Steam. So I hope it like continues to expand out there. I would love to see like Atlas, which is one of my favorite Japanese publishers, get into that PC goodness.
Same. I'm waiting for wait, does Atlas do Persona or did some Personas at some point?
They do all the Personas.
Yeah.
If there was a Persona on PC, I would flip my shit.
I know. I would lose my mind. So I'm with you. I'm playing Persona 5 on the PlayStation 4, and I can't help but think how I would just love to have that, like, be able to install that on a PC, run that at super high resolutions, get those sharp cartoonish.
Well, that game is already so stylish, so
Yeah,
imagine it running at higher than 1080p if you can support it on your monitor.
We can dream, but those dreams are closer to reality than ever.
That's right. It's a good time to be a PC gamer, right? Everyone in the audience.
I feel like we say that all the damn time, though. I feel
It's
like
always been a good time.
yeah. I feel like
It's never been a bad time.
Well, there was a period like 2 years ago when we first started doing the show where I was thinking, like, oh man, it's like a really good time for PC games right now, but like then we just kept saying it for 2 years.
Things keep
right?
getting
like,
better.
It
Though.
just
The golden
continued
age
to
has
be,
not waned.
Yeah, it continued to be really cool and a really good time. So I'm into being PC gamer, man. Well, let's jump along because there's another bit of news. Assassin's Creed had a leaked image, Assassin's Creed Origins, that also points towards Egypt. Right, so Egypt was the rumored place a while back, and we now have another bit of I don't know if you want to call it like confirmation because it is still leaked, but it seems like that's probably going to be the place it is.
Yeah, and I think several sources, Eurogamer maybe, or Kotaku, because Kotaku's like leaked every Assassin's Creed since the beginning of time.
Pretty much.
I mean, like it's. Looking at the image, hearing that several sources have confirmed it, this is probably it.
Assassin's Creed Origins is what it's being.
Oh God, really?
Yeah, that's so far.
A year off, and you come back with Origins? What the fuck?
But it's to be fair, when England was leaked a long time ago, they said it was going to be called Assassin's Creed Victory.
Just call it Egypt. Assassin's Creed's Egypt.
James.
Assassin's Creed Pharaohs.
There you go. I play that. Anything that says where it's at, besides like the dude in a hood who's probably.
What if they called it Assassin's Creed Where It's At?
There you go.
Does it have two turntables and a microphone?
Yeah.
Oh
Where
God,
it's
here we go.
Something, a microphone.
I'm excited, I guess. I'm mostly curious. That's where my excitement comes from, to see. I mean, this is from the Black Flag team, yeah? Is that what am I talking out of my ass here? Or it's rumored to be from the Black Flag team, at least, which is the last Assassin's Creed I liked. So, ships, Egypt could be cool.
I liked it because it was the least Assassin's Creed game they had made at that point.
Yep.
So, Egypt, camel riding. Real excited for that.
We had a couple more resubs. Max Ursa with 11 months. And where'd it go? Jules M with 6. Thank you very much, guys. For those of you watching, there are reports that the audio is a little bit out of sync. That's our bad. If we will get that. Might not be able to get it fixed right now, but we will get it fixed by the next show. I promise you that. Also, there was a really quick. I know we usually do questions Q&A at the end, but this is a really easy to answer question that was just brought up in the chat, which was a 1 millisecond delay TN panel or a 5 millisecond delay IPS panel if you're buying monitors. IPS 5 millisecond, do it. You will not notice the difference between 1 millisecond, 5 millisecond, and IPS is way better. Anyway, moving on. That's about all the news that we have right now. The other thing that I kind of barely wanted to bring up was this happened technically last week, but we're seeing a little bit more, was loot box drop rates are being revealed slowly. because of a new Chinese law. So basically what happened, for anybody who doesn't know, is China passed a law that basically is like an like a gambling regulation that says if you have loot boxes or a randomized thing in your game where you can get loot, you have to reveal the percentages of those things. And it went into effect on May 1st. And since then, we've found the drop rates of League of Legends boxes, Overwatch, Hearthstone, and I don't know if we've done others yet. But those are the big ones. And don't be surprised if over the next month or two you start seeing more and more of those come out. And I just wanted to get your gut checks of those, both of those. Like, what do you guys feel about that?
Having those out there?
Yeah, just like the fact that the whole situation, basically.
I think they should be out there. I suppose if people are dropping money on them regularly, and I mean, if there's, I would like ideally in the ideal world to trust Blizzard and think that they're not juicing the numbers in any particular way, but I think there's reason to suspect, or not reason, but if as a person buying that stuff and not getting shit I want to know why. And I think a lot of people might go, Blizzard's fucking me over. They're looking at my, they're trying to get more money out of me. And to have that out there, like the numbers may not look nice to you, but I don't even know what they are. At least having them out there, like just makes it transparent and honest. And
yeah, I can't ever think of a situation where knowing those numbers would really influence my decision, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I still want that fire, Man May outfit.
Yeah.
So,
but okay, so I didn't look too deep into this to see if this was actually illegal or not. But I saw some people raising this concern that seems credible, saying that is there potential that they can just bump the numbers up in China so they look really good, but elsewhere in the world they keep the rates down. So if you're like, oh wow, like this game actually seems really generous, but it's only generous in the Chinese market where they have to show those numbers.
See, to me, that assumes then that they care less about the Chinese market, right?
That's a big market.
Right, exactly. And
that's fair.
So I'm not saying that they wouldn't do that or that that's an impossible thing, but like to me that kind of goes under the assumption that like, oh yeah, like League of Legends cares about the United States and the rest of the regions way more than China, right. Which is like maybe they do, but also Tencent is the company that owns Riot, and they're a Chinese company. So like I don't know how Tencent would feel about them upping the loot box drop rates in the, the country they're based in. So I think there's a lot of factors there, but it's an interesting thing. But let's move on. Let's talk about what we've been playing lately. Who is anybody excited? Anybody want to go first? See, I watched last week's show, and usually I'm like, James, go first. And James was just like, who wants to go? Let's all like hang out and be happy. And I was like, oh man, I'm like a dictator, Jesus. So does anybody want to feel like sharing in the circle today, in the group?
Now this is like weirdly more pressure.
Yeah, this is.
James, what have you been playing?
Well,
is that better?
The big ones we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we are going to talk about stuff like Forza and Prey.
Beyond that, I'm trying to recall. I'm still just chipping away at Nier.
Are you still liking it? Still enjoying?
Yeah, I don't think it's like the revelation that a lot of people spell it out to be, like some kind of revolution in storytelling. Or
what playthrough are you on?
3, like the.
So Route C.
The final main route, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's very good and creative and subverts a lot of my expectations. Even so, the stuff it's dealing with, which is very big existential questions and kind of the pointlessness of everything. It's fun and sad, but it's never. Maybe it's because I seek out media. Like I have an existing interest in media that is an art that is about this stuff, and to me it's like, you think this is bleak? Come on,
this ain't no Moby Dick.
Yeah, get out of here. I like how that's become just synonymous with me at this point. But yeah, it's still a lot of fun. So, and I think it's like of games that tackle that stuff. To have it in this like Japanese platinum game shell is very surprising and cool. Beyond that, yeah, Forza and Prey. So that's about it. There's a bunch I really want to get to. Oh, I will say, I went and bought Hollow Knight because I feel like as a fan of those exploration games where you find new abilities and they're difficult and you fight bosses and you explore and backtrack through labyrinthine environments.
You're trying really hard not to say Metroidvania.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of the habit.
Okay.
Here's these two things that reference two games from the 80s.
Dark Souls meets Metroidvania. Most generic description of a game.
I mean, it wears those influences very clearly. But in putting together the best music of the year so far list that we went through last week, I thought, wow, this music's really good, and I started watching some trailers and listening to more of the soundtrack, and thought, shit, I need to play this. And I started it. It seems very good. I haven't had a lot of time because I had to dive into Prey and get some guides going, and that kind of took over my life. And but it's definitely something I want to return to. Hollow Knight.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Hollow.
Steven, you want to go or should I?
I'll go. So yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about Prey later on in the show, and that's kind of the main thing. But I've also been getting back into Final Fantasy 14 because the new expansion's coming out in June, which I'm actually really excited for. So I decided to start gearing up for that so I can be in good shape for our impending coverage. But
Sounds like
yeah,
a plague coming towards us, like a.
The coverage is here. The coverage is here.
Get to the cellar.
Hide the children. That's amazing. But no, it's really good. I mean, that is the MMO that I've sunk the most time into in the last decade. I looked the other day. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me lamenting, but I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for 28 days. Worth of game time, which is close to 800 hours. I think,
so like 28 24-hour periods.
Yeah, so
okay.
like 20. So, and the game came out 2 years ago. So in the last 2 years, a month of that time, in the last 24 months, one of those months, I have just been playing Final Fantasy 14, which is depressing.
When you put it like that, my God.
Like when I because you just type it in, and you're like, oh, it's /played, and it just tells you. When I realized what I had done by accident, because it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to play this game for a month. I just kind of slipped into it. I actually had like an existential crisis where I just moped around the house for like a week being like, what am I doing with my life? Like, how did I let this happen? Like,
and by moping around your house, you mean your virtual house in Final Fantasy.
That's right. And like all I have to show for it is a max level white mage that just looks like the Pope. He has a Pope hat, and I just walk around like everything is meaningless.
That sounds pretty meaningful, man.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty meaningful.
Think about how long it took the Pope to get that hat, right?
It's probably way longer.
Not nearly as long as.
Yeah, I should be proud of that. No, but the game it's really good. I'm really happy to be back into it. I've been digging into this new feature they have, which is really interesting, and I'd love to see them expand on it. And it's like a roguelike dungeon inside of an MMO.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's called like Palace of the Dead, and there's 100 floors of it. I think there's actually 200 now. And basically it just randomly generates floors. You go in with a group of 4 random people or a fixed party, and you just explore this dungeon, and there's all the classic roguelike elements. So it's a very basic roguelike, but being inside of an MMO, it makes it feel fresh and exciting. So I've been having a lot of fun with that.
Cool. Also, I want to call out Boxy the Wizard 1 resubscribed for 4 months. So thank you very, very much. A lot of resubs this week.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Yeah, it's nice. It feels
Our
like
little family.
Like community. Yeah. Well, that's. I won't ask you if you've been playing anything else because I imagine an MMO is like. That is the answer, right?
I'm just always playing an MMO. I think it's safe to assume that at any point in time, whether I'm playing other things, there's always an MMO going on in the background, which is like, it makes me feel bad. I don't know why I do this to myself. Like, it's a sickness.
No, it's not.
It's okay, buddy.
It's a character trait.
Like it's
that makes it sound worse, kind of, doesn't it?
It's the MMO guy. It's my niche, and it's beneficial to kind of, it's nice to be like that expert, but it's also just like, I don't know. It's like being an expert in drugs. Like that's not something to be proud of.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can like go travel to schools and like show sick pictures of what happens to your arm if you do too much crocodile or something.
Wow.
But what happens to your arm if you do?
Forgot about that one. Thanks for that image.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll go next. Chris86, real quick. 13 months. Thank you very much,
You guys are
Chris.
amazing today.
Yeah, they're all the best. You guys are all of the best. But we. I'll go next. I want to talk about Space Plan. I got a chance to...
I finished that too.
You finished it?
Yeah.
So Space Plan, this is going to make everyone not care, but it's a clicker game. Except it's a really cool narrative-driven clicker game.
Yes.
Right? So it's this very funnily written space-themed clicker where all you are doing, to be very clear, is clicking or letting it click for you, as most clickers do.
Automating clicks.
But it's real fun. And the narrative around it and the theming around it is this: you're in a spaceship orbiting a planet that you don't know what it is, and you need to generate energy somehow. But the only thing that your thing maker, which is the name of your builder, can make is potato-based things to generate energy. So you're making potatoes and spudalites, which are like spud satellites, and it's full of puns like that. And you generate energy, and it kind of propels you through the story as you do. And it's actually like a really interesting take on it, and it ends.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, it ends at a reasonable amount of time too. So you're not going to just like be addicted to this thing forever. Like you will reach a conclusion that is a fun conclusion for the narrative of the game, and
no microtransactions either.
Yeah.
So it's built with purpose, which I appreciate.
I think it's like $3 on Steam, and it's just a silly little thing. And if you're into it's a clicker game, but if you're into like narrative games, I would recommend it.
Yeah, and I think it's even if you like clickers or not, it plays around with what you do in a clicker a little bit. So it's not always super passive, and it's not always the same thing. And I'll leave it at that because those surprises are pretty fun to stumble upon. Yeah,
I was into Space Plan. I thought that game was pretty neat. A couple of the other things I've been playing, we're going to talk about Forza and Divinity because I've been playing those a little bit. I guess the other thing I really should bring up is Heroes of the Storm.
God.
I know. And
why do you say, oh, God?
So many weeks in a row, the Heroes of the Storm minute. Guess what? It's a MOBA. Guess what?
James, it's like this is your first time on the show. If you don't spend at least a minute talking about a Blizzard game, it's not the PC Gamer Show.
James just got so angry about that. Holy
I'm fine with it.
crap.
Maybe it's because I sit between like Lucas from Games Radar is sort of on my right, and then Bo is on my left. And Bo, the guy who's like, doing the police skin thing where you got to play 10 games to get the Diva police skin. He's like, I asked Bo the week before, you think you're going to get into HOTS because of this? He's, no way. This week, Bo's like, I've been playing some HOTS. And now him and Lucas are like
playing during lunch.
All day.
HOTS. So that's actually really what I wanted to bring up.
Okay, cool.
Was because, we've talked about the game. I've talked about why I like it, blah, blah, blah. But, like, it worked. Yeah, they had this scheme of let's open up the skins. Let's make all the cosmetics more easy to get and give you lots of loot boxes. And let's lure Overwatch players over with this fun Diva skin. And it worked. It worked. Like skin. They tried to get people, and who knows how long those people will last, and who knows how long I will last, and that sort of thing. But I am more motivated to play the game. I am more motivated to play the game with friends. I am enjoying it more. Like the changes that they made worked in getting me and at least Bo and a couple other people back into it, which is an accomplishment, like that is cool that they tried to do this thing, and I was like, oh yeah, and a lot of people responded positively.
You know what they're doing?
What?
You know what I haven't heard about in a couple weeks? Overwatch. Whenever they're developing the next thing, right?
It's coming up.
There's a HOTS cycle, and at the bottom of the HOTS cycle, where you have to dig through, and you might enjoy digging. At the bottom of it is some skin. It's a police diva skin. Or it's like Winston with a bow tie. Does he have a bow tie yet? I don't know.
You've got
Like a butler
and then when
uniform,
people-
for instance.
Yeah, you've got like the timbre in your voice of like somebody who's telling me that jet fuel can't melt steel beams. Like this is the this is like the attitude with which you were talking about this.
I'm just scared that like Bo's gonna wake up.
You're just scared. What are you?
I'm scared Bo's gonna wake up
and find he's become a giant
in
HOTS.
4 fucking years, and he's gonna be like, oh my god, I haven't played any game besides HOTS or Overwatch for 4 years. They got
this is
me.
concern.
I think they're good games. I'm just saying, this is very intentional. Beware, folks.
We should invite
Use your
Bo
eyes.
on the show. We should invite Bo on the show next week and not tell him that what it's really going to be is a live intervention in Bo's benefit.
We got to get out ahead of this. Yeah, I worry.
I don't support this.
I worry.
It's a fun game. Back off.
James is pearl clutching real
Drugs
hard
are fun
right now.
too.
Wow. James,
Drugs are fun. Me, 2017. Say it. Quote.
recant.
Write that down.
Recant, sir.
I can't. Don't do drugs
Down.
unless
Send it in
they're
an envelope
medically
yourself.
licensed.
Let's run far away from that conversation. That's about what I've been playing. I've also still been playing Tumbleseed, which came out officially on Tuesday.
More people need to play that.
More people
according
need
to
to
you.
play Tumbleseed. Yeah, I mean, we can pull it up maybe. The Steam page for Tumbleseed is like really made me sad the other day when I was looking at it for its yeah, here I'll pull it up right now. I apologize for the stammering as I was typing. Only 26 reviews on this. 92,
Tumbleseed?
yeah, on Tumbleseed, 96% are positive. There's a few more, so 38 after you count like the free and the other ones, the early access, or I guess it wasn't early access, but you know what I mean, the pre-release ones that don't count. This is like a really good game, Tumbleseed.
Yeah.
And the fact that when I saw that so few people had reviewed, which usually translates into so few people having purchased, like I got really bummed out because like this is one of those really good examples of a game that is just like deserves all the success in the world for how like slick it is.
Right.
And it just is struggling because there are so many good games out there.
And
You
to
know
be
what?
honest, it's hard to parse. Yeah, Steven.
I'm sure this game is great, but I have like this inherent hatred for it because the things that I hate in games is rolling balls around.
Yeah.
And like contending with ball physics in games is so frustrating. And that's what this just looks like. And I'm sure it's great and really creative, but like Super Monkey Ball is the stupidest game ever.
Oh, where's
Wow.
Wes? Where's Wes? Get him in here.
Dude, I love Super Monkey Ball.
Oh gosh.
Like games where you're just having to contend with ball physics while like rotating, or like those dungeons in the new Zelda where you have to like rotate the whole platform to move the ball around. They're just infuriating. And so I look at this and I'm like, this looks cool. I love the art style, but I really don't want to be frustrated because I leaned the platform a little bit too far and my ball fell off or whatever.
That is
So
literally the whole game.
Yeah,
I know, and I just don't like that type of game. So I'm just like, it looks cool. I have it. I should give it a try and see, because I don't want to be, judge a book by its cover. But it's just
No, you'll hate it.
to just see that.
like if you
Monkey
just
Ball?
told us that you don't like ball rolly games, that is this game. Like literally, that is the game.
It's funny because these games are a direct evolution of like those stupid like handheld toys you have where you're like trying to roll the balls into like the little holes and stuff like that. And like those weren't ever fun. The games that came after were never fun. I just don't like ball physics driven games.
Then don't play it.
I
To
don't
be
like Conan.
frank.
I don't like Conan either. So
Well, okay, let's jump along to some of the things that we've been playing otherwise and kind of that I want to dig into a little bit more.
Let's do it.
Let's start with Forza's DLC.
oh yeah.
James, we talked about this when it was announced 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think we both like stood up and looked at each other without saying a word and sort of just knew based on our expression and the energy radiating between us what was happening. And it was a Hot Wheels expansion for Forza Horizon 3, which has sort of been, it's kind of been like, maybe let's get a little personal here, Tom. We've bonded a little bit through Forza Horizon 3. I think so.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the ultimate, for us at least, the hangout game. Where you can get competitive or just dink around and troll your friend or film using the drone or the camera, some really wacky car antics in a beautiful diverse open world. And the first expansion, Blizzard Mountain, right? We both liked the idea of it. Big snowy mountain, awesome textures. If you have like HD rumble on like one of the new, is that what they call it? I don't know. The trigger rumble on one of the newer Xbox controllers, the physics and the feel of every road is so different and beautiful, and it's for the more simmy fans of Forza. And this new expansion, Hot Wheels, leans, and I wrote about this in this dumb article, 8 Ways.
Way to sell it, man. Jeez.
It's, I mean, it's pretty dumb.
Be proud of your work.
I am. That's me accomplishing.
This is coming from a man that once rated horses.
Yeah. This is very intentional. It's part of the process. But it leans into the dopey, fun, let's jump a car off a mountain aspects of Forza, and just the comedic, silly stuff, because it's a bunch of Hot Wheels tracks, like life size. Well, life size isn't the right word, but real Hot Wheels scale. What?
Technically not even.
I don't even know how to describe them.
Yeah, because real Hot Wheels scale is like the road's
tiny.
only as wide as the car.
Life-sized works.
Road-sized
They're
Hot
massive.
Wheels tracks.
Yeah.
Being brought in by a fucking helicopter. Like the
That
opening
was the
cutscene.
funniest part to me. The
so
opening
good.
cutscene of the like when you're first going over there, you're like it looks off into the sunset over this water for where like the island is where this is happening, right? And they're like, well, the guys at Hot Wheels have been building something really special for you, boss, because you're like the head of it in this fantasy. And then you see these helicopters, these 2 helicopters carrying a giant section of road, like from ropes between them, and they like are bringing it out to this island to finish building the course. And
good.
and I immediately, I think I was on Discord and I said to you, or I sent you a message or something. I was like Forza Horizon 3's Hot Wheels DLC needs like a canon way that they got these tracks to this island. Like they need to explain the realism of building giant fluorescent orange loop-de-loops.
Dude, Forza is the epitome of realism in racing. Of course they have to. I can't believe you find that so jarring.
I mean, yeah,
that's amazing.
It's so let's talk about the DLC itself,
let's do
though,
it.
because it's basically just these big crisscross mishmash of all of these courses, and they have loop-de-loops and jumps and brands, as you put it, because there's lots of, it's like they rename it above Ultimate Air and Ultimate Drift. There's now also Hot Wheels Air and Hot Wheels Drift, and so it's just like full of product placement. I was driving around in an S2, which is the highest rank of car, like a super, super fast car, and generally all the drivatars around you also match whatever class of car you have. And I went and I saw a drivatar while I was driving around in this fancy car, and it was like a beat up old van with Ford logos and advertisements all over it. Like, it's just full of that stuff. But the actual courses and the boost pads and things like that are super fun, man. They're really fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest criticisms I have of Forza Horizon 3 is and maybe the simmier fans love this shit, is the faster cars and the street racing, the windy roads were really kind of hard to drive.
Yeah.
Like, especially because it's an open world, you can just fly off the tracks
Maybe
so
we're just
easily.
bad.
Yeah, we're also just bad. I think Forza fans of the original Sim series were probably like, this is kind of what I'm into. I like this. I like crazy handling and, having to slow around corners and understanding what weather does.
To slow around corners, the basics of driving.
Well, and to be in the Hot Wheels DLC, you can't just it's not completely arcadey. There are corners you will need to slow around, and you can fly off the track. But when you do fuck up, it's usually pretty funny. You just go flying into the ocean or into the butt of an animatronic T-Rex, because they have a bunch.
Do
of
they
those
have a canon way of retrieving your car if you crash it into the water?
I don't know. You just kind of reappear.
It's actually one of the more disappointing parts. There's no splash or anything.
Yeah, I was hoping there'd be something else.
It's okay.
I mean, what's
There's
cool
also a
though
T-Rex, so.
is it feels like there's actual race courses built in, as opposed to, I mean, it was easy to just take a wrong turn or fly off into the woods in the original game, and this one is, they're much more directed and wild and wacky, and like, I mean, you're driving sideways or upside down every 30 seconds or something like that.
The main complaint I have with it so far is that I think the courses might feel a little samey.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was hard to tell where I was at any given place, whereas in Horizon's normal kind of mode, it's very easy to tell where you are because you can recognize roads, you can recognize the area you're in, you know, the environment around you, the setting is all very unique depending on what area of the map you're in. But in this one, it was really fun to drive around on these courses, but they lose some of their soul, their distinct kind of vibe.
And there's a lot less free roam appeal, I think. You can like get in there with a friend and dink around and like make your own crisscross crash game. Or
can you get in there with a friend?
That's the other thing is, and this might be attributed to like specific network issues, but well, first of all, navigating the Microsoft Store to get the latest update for Forza Horizon 3, install the DLC like as a sort of a separate product. You can't really do it from in the game. Well, you can, but you have to like leave the store and then whatever.
It's the worst.
And then beyond that, like connecting with you, we couldn't get it to work. We could get into the same group, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get into your game.
I bet the servers were kind of overloaded last night.
Could have been,
and because it did come out yesterday. But at the same time, those connection kind of problems and hiccups are not unique to this DLC. They've been in the game for a while, and they are, by my account, the biggest smear on an otherwise phenomenal game.
It's a game that should be, and I sort of blame the
better.
Yeah, I blame the back end for this mostly. It should be extremely easy to play with people.
Yeah,
extremely easy. And it's not. It's not even extremely. It's easy to install and run on a PC.
Yeah.
So I mean, it has that going against it, and I still haven't. I think it's the ultimate case for, just gutting the Microsoft Store and starting over in some way.
Just burn it down.
Yeah, I mean, because it's fucking awful. And I think we wrote about it.
Still is even around, to be honest. Like the fact that it came out and was so universally just the worst. Mm-hmm. The fact that they haven't even tried to make an effort. And, I know those things probably take a lot of time before they get the ball rolling, but like it is a hot mess. I sometimes get confused even just trying to get a game to play. Mm-hmm. Like I go into the store and I'm like, I have to remember how to open a game. Or uninstalling games took me. I had to Google a guide on how to uninstall games from the Microsoft Store. So
yeah, it's rough, and I think the point that was it Wes. I think the point Wes made or partly made was like, it was never meant to be what it is, right? Like it's never. It's incredibly hard in the Windows Store to find like your library of games and then open one of those games or update one of those games. And it's because it was never really meant to be like what Steam is, which is why you have in your update list Forza's DLC, and then like Notepad and sticky notes and photos.
Windows Camera, which is a thing I didn't know I had.
Right, but like, what? And that's exactly.
How you take desktop selfies.
But that's
I don't know.
That's one of the reasons that the store is. This isn't forgiving its issues. It's just saying one of the reasons the store is kind of so unintuitive for a gamer is because it was never really made to do that.
Yeah.
Or wasn't designed to do that, and it wasn't.
But what was it
optimized
designed for? Is maybe the question.
That's a good question.
Mobile devices ideally becoming like this universal platform where everyone's using the Windows Store, to find all their apps, and it's not. It's just definitely not. Did you know there's a Halo game on the PC, Halo Forge, and it's multiplayer, and
it's Halo
I think
5.
there's a server browser coming to it, and no one's fucking playing it because it's on the Windows Store.
Yeah.
It's a wasteland. I logged into that maybe 3 weeks ago because it's Halo on PC and it's Forge, which is a really cool part about Halo. And I logged in and there was like 12 people online.
Damn shame.
It's nuts.
It's devastating. Well, didn't they like issue refunds for Call of Duty on the Windows Store because it was separated from the Steam multiplayer base, and there was only like 2 people playing it on Windows Store?
You should be careful saying refunds plural, because there was definitely one person who said that was the case. They bought it on the Windows Store. He was the only
one that bought it, so it was
Oh, boo! That's mean. So yeah, I do wish that some of those problems were not as prevalent, because I really just wanted to play Forza and do loop-de-loops with you, James. And and we couldn't do that last night.
I think either way, this is one. I mean, I bet this is probably the final expansion for Forza Horizon 3 before the next one comes out. I would imagine they're on a cycle with this. And
this is a
really nice way to go out, I think.
I agree.
If you can put up with all the nonsense required to get in there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think this was. It's not going to satisfy the sim itch in the same way that Blizzard Mountain did, but it is a really, really just like pure adrenaline rush, fun way to play Forza. And I continue to wish, and this is not at all a complaint with this DLC specifically, but I continue to wish that these DLC worlds were not gated behind very long load screens. I understand why they are, and they have to be in how they set up the game, but I really wish I could just like be driving through the desert and then drive towards a ramp and then just be on a loop-de-loop, and I can't do that.
That'd be tight.
Oh, the other thing we should really quickly bring up with Forza is that they also added some PC performance patches to it. This update, along with this DLC, came a free update that supposedly optimized some video settings and optimized the way your computer will handle the game to the point where they actually felt comfortable lowering the minimum required specs for for running the game. I didn't ever really have the problems I had with running the game were always like internet based.
Right.
So I never really had graphical problems running the game, and so I didn't notice too much of a difference. But if anybody who is running it on a lower computer, so Chris86 says performance is much better now. So yeah, it seems like people are noticing.
I checked the subreddit too, and it definitely seems to be the consensus is that it's much better across the board. Stuttering though, like that's the question I have is I've yet to go back into the main island, and I think the problem was. For us, anytime it was checking in with the network, like registering a new road or something like that, there was a short pop, and I've yet to see if that is still there or not. So.
I mean, when I launched the game the first time, it was unplayably laggy for me, and I had to restart my whole computer before it became normal.
Yeah, Chris says he still sees hitching, so it's probably still there, because that was my big problem too, was the stuttering and hitching. But yeah, that felt like a network thing.
It's nice. It's nice that they still did. Some improvements. It's nice that they're still developing the game in that way instead of just doing like Hot Wheels.
Especially considering like it's, I feel like a lot of the times there's sort of like when a game comes out, if it has performance issues, there's an impetus to solve those right away. But as more time goes on, there's less impetus to like go back and fix those types of things. So the fact that this game is, 6 months old now, and they're still releasing performance patches, good on them.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool that stuff is coming through. Hokage Bebop just subscribed for the first time. Thank you very much.
That's a great username.
It is. And Turdog for 10 months. Doesn't feel that long, he says. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, if you want to see more, go to pcgamer.com/Forza-Horizon-3, and we got a lot of coverage there. We're going to have an official, actual full review of the Hot Wheels DLC, I think, either later this week or early next week. So you can keep an eye out for that. But I just love having another excuse to play Forza.
Same.
There's a song, I think I've said this, the hand clap song. Every time it comes on the radio in the car. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, it goes.
I can make your hands clap?
Yeah, every time that song comes on the radio while I'm just like driving in the real world, I want to drive fast. Like I want to be going much quicker than I am.
On that note, I love the. I think nothing calms me down more than hearing "Take Me Away."
Yeah, in the
show me a sanctuary.
The main menu.
Yeah,
game's got some good music.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's jump along. I wanted to talk very briefly. About a thing I got to play, which is Divinity 2's game, or Divinity Original Sin 2's Game Master mode. So, for those of you who don't know, the last Divinity Original Sin 2 got this huge Kickstarter where they made like over $2 million, I believe, and it was all toppings, right? Like they were basically, the entire Kickstarter was stretch goals, where they said, Kickstarter went really great for us for the first time. We already are going to make this game. We want you guys to be able to basically improve our budget to make all the things we want to make. And the final stretch goal of that was a Game Master mode, which basically lets you play D&D using Divinity Original Sin 2's game mechanics and engine.
Oh, cool.
And you can play it with a Game Master who can build an entire campaign with a 3D full-on level editor, Warcraft style, Warcraft 2, 3 style. Build out NPCs, do all that, and then run a campaign for up to 4 other people.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's ambitious.
It's really ambitious, and it's pretty cool. I'll pull up some footage of it just for, like, this is Sven, the CEO of Larian, just kind of, like, building a bit of a campaign to show off kind of what it's like. He was actually building Divine Divinity, Larian's first game within Divinity Original Sin 2, which is kind of cool, and you can go to pcgamer.com to see that. But yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, do either of you guys play D&D? I know, James, you and I have played D&D a little bit.
Yeah, dabbled here and there.
I've played it.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, they do a lot of really good things, right? Like, there's a lot of really, really vital things that this allows in terms of, like, the Game Master being able to improvise. So we had a moment in our campaign that was a lot of fun when we were doing a demo campaign, where it was Wes and me, and then two people from Larian, and then a person from Larian being the Game Master. And we got into a fight, and Wes was like, I want to turn one of our guys into a chicken using this polymorph spell that he had, which usually you use on enemies. He was like, I want to turn this guy into a chicken, and then I want to throw him over this wall behind the enemies so that they won't see that he's a chicken, and then they'll stop being a chicken, and he'll attack.
That's brilliant. That's the best strategy I've ever heard.
Yeah, and like, this is difficult for a number of reasons within Divinity's game systems. Like, you can't actually, like, get affected by polymorph stuff until your magic armor is gone, and the fight just started, so he had magic armor, so the polymorph skill failed, and then there was no way to actually throw another player like that, so he couldn't do that either. But what happened is the Dungeon Master just was like, okay, I will override the polymorph failing, make it automatic, so the polymorph absolutely works, and then now roll a d20, and he actually, like, clicked a button that, like, put up a little d20 thing in Wes's window, and he rolled a strength check, and he got a 19, and so he said, okay, then you pick up this chicken and you throw him, and then he just moved the character automatically.
All right.
So it allowed for improvisation like that, but at the same time, that it also was kind of at ends with the fact that it was still like a video game.
Right.
So when he was having conversations, when the DM was having conversations with a character, playing that character, playing the NPC they were talking to, we could all just wander around and pick things up, and you can't talk to anyone because you can't actually write dialogue for people that way.
Okay.
But we couldn't talk to anyone. We could just, like, pick up items and wander through the world and go places that we technically weren't allowed to go. And the GM, it was the GM's job to manage us while we were doing all of this.
Okay.
But you know, that's part of what Dungeons & Dragons is you're supposed to follow whatever the GM says. You're supposed to listen to them. That is a clear part of it. It is it is they drive the game. But when they drive the game, and then also you can just, like, have the freedom of movement that Divinity allows, those two things kind of feel at ends with each other a little bit. So it takes a coordinated party to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a necessary fault, if any.
Well, in Dungeons & Dragons, everything's turn-based, right? So it's not like you're just wandering around. You're each taking your turn, taking an action or moving or talking or something like that. So the fact that someone's talking and you're just, like, picking up potions off of a shelf or something, I can see that being really frustrating. It's cool, though, because, like, so I'm excited for this because I think video games have never managed to capture the joy of sitting down and playing D&D with a group of friends. They've always tried to, and I know like there was Sword Coast Legends 2 years ago that was really sort of, you know, banking on this, oh, you get to run your own D&D campaign, and it was awful because it was so limited. You were really bound by the rule sets of the video game. But I think it's great that they're doing this thing where they're kind of, it's a hybrid between like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's just happening inside of a video game. But it's, does that make sense? Like the fact that you can basically, you know, hack the game to accomplish what you want. You can be like, oh, I'm just gonna, okay, you know, technically the game won't allow me to turn you into a chicken, but I'm just gonna do it anyway because it makes for a good story. And that's what D&D is, which is knowing when it's appropriate to kind of break the rules in service of good storytelling.
Yeah.
Or bend the rules. And that's the best part about Dungeons and Dragons too, is sort of having that kind of creative freedom where you can be like, I'm gonna punch this dude in the face. And other like D&D like RPGs in the past have just been like, no, you can't do that because the game arbitrarily doesn't allow this. But
yeah, and I think this actually, the thing that excites me the most about this is that if you have a DM who really cares a lot, you can create some really, really cool campaigns to play within this game. It's just, and you can even create campaigns on, like, you can create things on the fly.
Right.
So, like, if you set up this path, like, okay, the player characters are going to go to this tavern, and then they're going to go into the basement, and they're going to get into a fight, and then they're going to go somewhere else. Like, and you have this idea as a DM of what they're going to do. Obviously, that very rarely ever goes according to plan.
Right.
And if you need to suddenly have the interior of a different building that you weren't thinking about, you can create that in the middle of the campaign pretty quickly, because you can, because the way they do it is they very, very smartly, instead of having these massive maps the way that Divinity's campaign does, you basically have these bite-sized chunks. You have the interior of a building, this section of a town, a forest path, and there are 150 of these pre-built little locations that are going to start in the game, and then you can download, you can make as many as you want in the 3D level editor, and then you can also download however many you want from the workshop.
I was going to ask.
So
that's cool.
So if you have a DM who really gives a shit, like, they can really get good at using this system. But it will fundamentally basically be playing D&D, listening to your DM like normal, but using Divinity as a visual representation, which is a really, really cool way to do it, because Divinity is a good-looking game and has a lot of fun systems. Like, you couldn't do something like the surfaces system, like the fire surfaces and oil surfaces that's in Divinity, in a D&D campaign. That would just be like, I mean, you could, it would just be really confusing and hard to do in paper.
Well, and like practically speaking, if you're like a big D&D fan, the most expensive part about D&D and the most time-consuming parts, or one of the more time-consuming parts about D&D, is setting up like the physical play space. Unless you're just going to play a campaign where you're not using maps, you're not playing by any of those rules. But like, you're buying miniatures, you're buying, you know, the mats that you need, you're having to draw them out and all that stuff. So this is just it makes D&D way more accessible in a sense.
Yeah,
or it could for the right person.
No, I think it could. So I like that. I'm gonna shut up about it though, because like there's you know, I got a chance to play that one campaign, but there's not a whole lot more to know until it comes out. The other thing is, they said it would come in early access, but now they're actually saying it's going to come when the game launches officially sometime next year.
Okay.
Sometime this year, but they haven't revealed when that is or anything like that.
Cool.
So. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what people come up with on the workshop. I think that's the most exciting part of it to me. But let's talk about Prey.
Prey.
You guys really, I really want to hear what you guys say about Prey. So I can. This is my time to shut up, because
I don't think James likes Prey.
No.
What?
Wow.
James, what do you like? You know what? Tell me one thing you enjoy that isn't a book about existentialism.
Damn. Calling you out. Hawaiian shirts.
I do like floral, I like plants on shirts.
Are those plants? I thought those were feathers.
They're palm fronds.
Palm fronds.
Okay.
I like static.
Just the sound.
Wow.
Or the feeling.
Can we talk about Prey, please?
Let's talk about Prey.
Sure, yeah, fine.
What? So yeah, give me the gut, the
Gut?
quick thing. Are you liking it? Are you not liking it? How much have you played?
I mean, I like it. Undeniably, it's like hard not to love for me. It's a game that is clearly built with like a incredible attention to detail. It has there's a great sense of place, and its alternate history fiction is very well realized. And yeah, this sounds so shitty of me, but I feel like it's another one of those games, and by those games I mean it's a BioShock, it's a BioShock Infinite, it's a System Shock. At this point, or Deus Ex, I kind of know what to expect, and what I expect and what I find is that I wander around like I said, meticulously crafted environment, reading email, and and I don't really like that part. There's so many names and nondescript, like small stories that are interesting, but and listening to audio logs and that stuff is fine. It just isn't wowing me, and I feel like I've heard iterations of the same kind of audio log story many, many times now, and I feel like I've walked into a room where something clearly happened and went wrong, and it's not at fault for that, but I think it kind of struck me how that's not nearly as fresh a thing as I expected.
It is formulaic.
Sure, yeah, and it's weird to call it that because I think it's, like I said, beautifully put together.
Yeah.
But how are you liking the setting so far, Steven?
I love it. So I guess like a disclaimer, James is much farther along than I am. I got it last night and played it. But what I'll say is like I came to you beforehand and asked you what you thought of it before buying it for myself. Yeah. And you actually you kind of turned me off from it. You said like it's an interesting game, but I was kind of like, oh, I got a lot of other stuff on the plate. I don't know if I want to make time for this right now. But then eventually I'm a consumer and I had to buy it. So I just gave into that base instinct to purchase things, and I bought it. And I'm really glad that I did, though, so far. I think I haven't played as many immersive sims more recently. Like I haven't played Dishonored 2, and I'm trying to think of what else would fall under that. I didn't play the new Deus Ex, so I'm not nearly as saturated in that space as other people would be if they're huge fans of it. So for me going into it, I'm like, oh, this is great. It's been so long. This is really refreshing and exciting for me. And I really love the sense of place that it has. I think that's something that's really easy to undersell, because that was something that you did mention to me. You said, oh, it's got like this amazing sense of place, and the environments are gorgeous and detailed and all this stuff. And on paper that didn't sound that compelling to me, but once I got into the game and started immersing myself in the simulation, the genre,
cut his mic.
Kill
Cut
it.
Kill it.
I'm done. I'm washed up. Once I started doing that, though, it's a really sort of hard to describe pleasure, and I've really been enjoying it. I will go on record and say I really like Mimics.
You're gonna fucking take that back.
We will see, and I can appreciate how they get old. I mean, I can see how they are very much a one-trick pony. So if you're not familiar, is this spoilers?
So real quick, I was gonna just bring that up. We're not gonna talk deep spoilers or anything. No. We're going to talk about pretty basic stuff. The Mimics thing is something that has been brought up in a lot of marketing material, a lot of trailers.
Cool.
That's a widely publicized part of the game. There are aliens that turn into other things.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, it's in the first 10 minutes, basically, you encounter one of these things. So if you're totally not familiar, though, Mimics are this enemy. They look like these like creepy, shadowy crab things, and they can transform into objects in the environment, and then they'll use that to surprise you. So you'll walk into a room, there'll be like a coffee mug on the table next to another coffee mug, and one of them's a mimic, and it'll jump out at you. And so it's kind of a cheap jump scare. The jump scare element of it does get played out really quick. But what I love about Mimics is that you develop this really interesting relationship with them, because they're not necessarily hunters. They're more like pests that are just mildly dangerous to you. And what they really evoke the sensation of for me is fighting spiders in your home. Like, have you ever had to kill spiders in your house?
Yeah.
And
it was more
I don't know
fun.
if you've ever had like a really epic spider saga where you've battled a spider for longer than
What
just
kind
like
of fucking spiders do you have in Canada? What are you talking about?
Okay, so I used to live in a part of Canada where we had these things called wolf spiders, which are
they're
they
big,
don't like
big
make
dogs.
a web and then just sit in it. They're predatory. They go out at night and they like go hunting. And these things are huge, like they can be the size of your palm. But anyway, it just reminded me of this idea of like I love when you uncover a mimic and it tries to run away. And then it'll try to like turn into something else, but you'll see it turn into that thing.
Yeah.
So you know it. And
it's
you're just
kind of
like,
cute.
Yeah, you almost pity it. You're like, oh, you tried, as you like walk up to it and just beat the shit out of it with a wrench. And you're like, you poor thing.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy that relationship with them. I think there are problems with it, like the jump scare mechanic, where every time they pop out, it goes whee, is really dumb and annoying. It almost ruins it too, because if they jump out behind you, you know they're coming at you. It works if you're looking at the mimic and it springs at you, but if you're facing away and it jumps at you, you get basically told off that this is happening and you know to turn around and fight it. But anyway, I really like mimics so far.
I love them. I was once like you, a sweet summer child, as you were commonly referred to, and loved mimics. I loved the idea of an immersive sim with all of these physics objects, and any single one of them could be a threat. Or the way you describe them, just not even a direct threat, a sort of a nuisance, a lost alien, you kind of come to pity them, like you say. But, yeah, God, what am I, 15 hours in? You are
exasperated right now.
Okay, so mimics become just so annoying. You can enter a room and expect to find 2 or 3 of them, sometimes like 7, and that relationship where you're navigating a space and anything, they could be anywhere, there's sort of that tension just becomes annoying. And when you start to realize how they're not a massive threat, they become like a mosquito that will sometimes spring from behind and attack you. And then beyond that, you do eventually get the ability, I'm not going to say exactly how, but you have the option to have the ability to scan a room and find them before, at which point it becomes
pointless.
A little bit, yeah, I think they deflate quite a bit. Beyond that, I think, and this might be just pure taste and an opinion here, but I think the combat itself and fighting the mimics when they do come at you, which is all the fucking time, that swinging the wrench at them is not satisfying. They're hard to track. I don't think their design is particularly great. It's just kind of a black thing. Even worse for the phantoms and other enemies. They're just kind of nondescript, black-looking aliens, I guess. Reading about them is really interesting, and their backstory is really interesting, but I don't think they particularly look interesting. And I think this is leading into a bigger problem I have with the game is I expected more from the combat and sort of the systems in the world, and by that systems I mean physics and the interactive what's the word I'm looking for? How some systems in the world, such as electricity and your glue gun and physics and psychic powers and psychic energies, how those all overlap and interact is not interesting at all. And you have all of these ways to interact with the world. You get the ability to hack. You get and use turrets, which of course there are turrets. To work for you. You get the ability to reinforce turrets. You get the ability to pick up heavy objects and throw them. Eventually, you get psi abilities. You can turn into a fucking mug, or like the mimics. You can do what they do. You can scan other creatures to get their abilities as well. But none of it really.
We've written many a news story on how you can beat prey as a mug.
Yeah, and I suppose that's why the mimics, besides how frequently they occur in the world, is why I find them and all the enemies extremely boring to fight. Is because it's really hard to feel creative because none of the combat systems really overlap in interesting ways. There are some things you can do, like eventually you get a psi shock ability that it's basically like a fire plasmid. You get an electricity, ability that shocks robots and knocks them down. The glue gun will freeze people, but all of those abilities, besides mimic, it sort of just incapacitate enemies so you can shoot or hit them, or let the turrets have a go at them.
Well,
sorry, yeah.
So I wanted to ask real quick because you just made the comparison to plasmids, right? Like the Bioshock.
Yes.
And this question was brought up in chat, but what does this game? And I say this acknowledging that it's never fair to just compare a game to another game, but does this game feel like System Shock? Does it feel like Bioshock? Does it feel like Dishonored? Like what sim can you kind of compare it to?
It's more Bioshock. It's not Dishonored at all.
Okay.
You can play stealthy and there are stealth abilities, but I think the stealth is awful.
It's really boring. Yeah.
It's not fun to crouch slowly and wander through the environments, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of naturally occurring, it doesn't feel like the environments are designed for stealth. There's pillars and things to hide behind, and you can lean, which every first-person game should let you lean. I love it, but like whether or not enemies can see you and evading them is really finicky. I feel like.
And the threat of the stealth is just, it's not there. It's not interesting.
No.
Like Alien Isolation is a game that I thought I really enjoyed the stealth in that game because the alien felt unpredictable, and you were constantly hearing it moving around, and it was up in the vents, and you were always on edge, and that was really, every step you took was really terrifying. But in this, the stealth, you're just sort of like, oh, I'm just going here. It just feels boring and slowly paced. Like it's just drawn out. And like I totally agree. The combat is lackluster so far.
I don't mean to say it's bad. It's not bad combat. I just think I wish there was less of it. I wish there was a lot less of it. The mimics I think are so interesting. You described them exactly how I felt, Stephen, when I first encountered them. And if there were fewer of them, or if their behaviors were more erratic and pest-like than predatory, because I feel like eventually they would just come after me. Like that was it. And I think the Phantoms are a bit closer to that. One Phantom in the early game is like a huge threat. I appreciate that about the combat. And some of the bigger enemies are super bizarre and
no spoilers.
Yeah, I won't say anything. And there's some like system or like I guess system broader decisions you can make that will affect what kind of enemies you encounter. And what and some of those enemies are extremely difficult to take on. But if the combat it doesn't feel good enough, and it happens too often to make them feel like novel or truly like unique threats, eventually like you enter an arena and there's probably a Phantom hiding and like several mimics around. What are you gonna do? Just, the same thing that you shoot them with the glue gun.
What was I going to say? Oh, I would love to see another game take that idea and build a more focused. Like I would love to see an indie horror game take this idea of mimicry and build a really tighter experience that doesn't need to build arbitrary combat into it necessarily, where it can be, they can really play it out, because it is terrifying. And when you first start to encounter it, like I'm at a point now where I no longer care about mimics. Like I'll walk into a room and I'm not whacking mugs or anything, because it's going to jump at me. It's going to make me maybe flinch, and then I'm just going to beat the crap out of this mimic and move on. But for the before I reached that sort of realization that they weren't that scary, walking into a room and seeing like two chairs next to one another was like heart-grippingly terrifying.
So good.
So like if they had found a better way to pace that out, it would have been, a really, really exciting game. Have you noticed any problems with the soundscape?
A ton. I thought my headphones were broken, and I thought, I don't know, like my sound, it feels like some things are way too low in the mix. It feels like when I'm like the 3-dimensional sound, I can't trust it at all.
It's awful, the 3D sound.
Yeah, and I've heard some people say it's excellent, and I just wonder, like, what's going on? Is there like some kind of...
You know what? Maybe there is. Maybe there's like some undiagnosed problem that people are having, and some people don't have it and other people's do. But like, I can't tell if something's above me or in front of me or behind me. Like, it just all floods in, and it's not great.
And in a game with that built around, you know, tension and atmosphere like that, it feels... It breaks the illusion a bit, because I like the idea of hearing, you know, the whispers of a phantom somewhere in the distance, or a chair tip over because a mimic just like quickly turned into something, or whatever it may be, like the chug of like a fan that I see to my right, but I somehow hear above my head. It's pretty annoying. It's really annoying, but I don't think everyone's experiencing that. It just must be.
It's weird. The game's got clear issues. It'll be interesting to see if any of those get addressed. Like, the soundscape to me seems something that it could potentially be like they could release a patch that just rebalances some of that stuff, or maybe there's just a bug there that wasn't intended. Maybe this is because they didn't send out review codes sooner. Kidding. But anyway, that's a whole other can of worms.
I do want to, like, I feel like I've been talking shit about
We've been negative
game.
on it.
But I wholeheartedly recommend this game. Like, I love this game.
So that's an unexpected thing to hear, given that you just were like talking shit on it.
I'm 100% disappointed in the combat, and I think it's tedious, but the world, and by the world I mean Talos 1, the space station, is so well realized. It has excellent writing. So even though I'm reading email and I'm listening to audio logs and people are talking to me over a microphone or whatever, all of that's super well written. The story is going places and dealing with themes that are pretty heady for sci-fi in popular games that they deal with some really interesting, bizarre ideas that will, make you think, and that is very cool to me. Also, it's a very huge game. I'm like. Someone says it's shit, but still good. I don't think it's shit, but it's very dense, and I appreciate that. I think the crafting system is so good. It's so satisfying. I don't know about you, Steven, but the recycling.
It's my favorite part. Recycling shit, or even just the
so
cubes.
Surprising to hear.
Oh, it's so good. It's brilliant.
The end result isn't necessarily the point. The point is that, okay, so, in these games, this is also a criticism I have of Prey, is that, and sort of like be at the fault of the recycling system that I'm praising right now, is any junk you pick up, you can dump into a recycling machine that will turn it into these beautiful little balls and squares of purified material that you can then like dump into a 3D printer or like construction machine, and they're all physics objects. So it's really satisfying to just get this like dump of like throwing all your junk into this machine and getting this, like, it feels like you're winning the lottery every time. It's like candy spilling out of a machine or something. There are also these recycling grenades, which are probably one of my favorite items. You can throw them at objects or enemies, and it just like turns them into their constituent materials. It just poof, and they turn into these like explosion of little candy balls.
Chris in the comments made a point that is actually one of my favorite things about the game so far, which is that there are no random NPCs. Every single person or body you find is a human being that has a story that, even if it's just a few tiny details, they have some sort of story. So there's like the entire crew of this ship, which is numbering almost in the hundreds, or at least in around 100. All of them are accounted for. They are built into the game, and there are computer terminals that you can find where you can track each person. So you can see very early, and I love this idea that you can see who's alive before you've even met them, because you know that some of those people will become actors in the story. And so like you can go, I'm pretty pretty sure. I won't spoil it, but like some people that you kind of have an idea already are important. You can basically see where they are in the Talos one. Every single dead body, you can track them, so you can go and find every single person. And there's sort of like a quest tied around it. I think it's just sort of an achievement coin hunt type of, like Banjo-Tooie, go collect all the things. Collect all the corpses, which is
that's not quite Banjo-Tooie.
But with some stakes. I mean, like, you don't have to do any of that. And it's totally driven by just your curiosity and your, like, whether or not you want to be the hero that saves everyone that you can. And that's cool to me.
I think, don't go into this game expecting the new BioShock or anything like that, the new best immersive sim. But I think it's a very solid entry that has some things that are frustrating about it, but also has a lot of really positive strengths. I think my problem with it, and my impression after talking to you, James, that first time, and then realizing that, no, I'm really glad I bought this game, was that the things that it does really well are very abstract. And so it's hard to recommend.
Exactly.
Those things, you say, well, the combat sucks, the soundscape's kind of borked, and then we're like, but the sense of immersion.
It's like reading. I don't know. It's like I play it for 5-hour chunks at a time because it's like reading a chunky, good sci-fi novel.
I
where you
really
forget what you're doing. Yeah, and for that alone, I think it's worth it. If you're, like I said, the combat's not always fun, but for the rest of the experience, it's totally worth putting up with. If you want, just put it on easy, like whatever.
Yeah, it's also worth saying too that, like, as a game with sort of a horror bent to it, or a horror flavor, like, I personally have a really hard time playing horror games in long stints. I play them for maybe an hour, and then I have to take a break and do something else and come back to it and decompress. But this game, like, even though there are moments of constant tension and dread, like last night I played it for 5 hours and I could not stop. Like, I wanted to keep going, and I'm really excited to finish up the podcast so I can go back to it.
Well, let's
I have other work I have to do, but I'm excited for today.
Well, let's actually move on to our last topic, which is our Twitch chat Q&A. If you have any questions for us, please tag us with @PCGamer in the Twitch chat. We will get to you, answer your questions. If you're a Twitch sub, we will get to you first because we appreciate you so much for supporting the show. If you want to talk about anything, Prey, Forza, brands, boots on the ground,
meaningless of existence.
James.
Sorry, Steve. What?
I was just gonna say, did you like spacewalking in that game?
I do. I haven't done a bunch of it, but I mean, it's easy to control, and it's a cool space thing to do.
I had a great moment, which is I went out to collect a body drifting in space.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and I had rotated myself so much to kind of, I had to navigate through some things, and I turned around and I almost wish if the dots weren't there, I would have just died or just got completely lost. But I had this moment where I turned around, and that was one of the few times I think I've played a space game with 6 degrees of movement where I've turned around and been like, I have no idea where I am, because you get so disoriented. And that was such a great feeling. I wish more games kind of captured that dealt with spacewalks. I can't think of other ones that had done that for me, but I turned around and everything just looked different because I was looking at it from like upside down.
It's very disorienting. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well, let's take some of the questions we got from chat. Subscriber B Scappa says, "Will the Oilers win tonight?"
Boo.
That's all we'll say on that.
I'm Calgarian. I have to, I have an obligation to my people to hate Edmonton Oilers. I don't even like hockey.
Silent Shot 305 asks a cool question, actually, that we can bring up, which is E3 show you guys are hosting, ? Which is not really a question, but we will bring it up. Yes, we're hosting the PC gaming show again at E3, which is exciting. It's really going to be a good show. We're going to show off a bunch of cool stuff for PC gaming. And we, similar to what we did last year, Sean Day 9 Plot hosting the show again. And it's going to be a lot of fun, so you should definitely tune in. You can go to find more information about that at PCGamingshow.com. Let's grab some more questions, though, from some of our subscribers. Chris86 asks, in the spirit of the Hot Wheels DLC, what is your favorite DLC or add-on?
That's a good question.
Hot Wheels DLC.
Tough question.
That's my favorite. No. Everyone really liked Blood and Wine, right?
Blood and Wine is unquestionably one of the best. Dishonored.
I really like the Undead.
Oh, sorry, what?
For Red Dead. Sorry, I mean that's not a PC game, but the Undead expansion for Red Dead.
That was good. Shame it never came to the PC because it was so good. Dishonored's 2 story DLCs were great. Knife of Dunwall and Witches of Brigmore were pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, quite literally in the spirit of the Hot Wheels DLC, Burnout Paradise's Paradise Island, I think.
Oh yeah, the motorcycles and stuff.
Yeah, and that whole crazy, wacky jump island was the shit.
I'll put in like just Civ 5 and Civ 4 DLCs. Like those aren't specific. Hey, this DLC was phenomenal, but like those games need their DLCs to start functioning better. So I think that's
right.
That's an important one to call out.
Dark Souls 2's DLCs are great.
Yeah.
Not going for Dark Souls 3?
No, they pale. They're some of the worst.
Whoa.
Of all the Dark Souls.
Wow.
Just saying. They're great, but they're just some of the worst.
We've been full of like the most confident.
Fuck Prey. Prey's good.
Yeah. I love Prey. Now let's spend 45 minutes talking about every single problem I have with this game.
We're critics.
Milksama 21 and oh my god, Loken of the Blue Tower. There were no capitals in that one, so it was hard to parse, but thank you both for subscribing.
It's also a badass username.
It
Loken
is.
of the Blue Tower.
It sounds like a Dark Souls
Sounds
boss,
like an end boss,
actually.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
All right, Kunifu asks Steven which part of Stormblood he is most looking forward to.
Oh, cool. So Stormblood's the new Final Fantasy expansion. Because Final Fantasy 14 is already like so anime, Stormblood is like you're journeying to the east. And I'm just really excited for that flavor. I think it's going to be so good. The story in Final Fantasy Heavensward was so good. It was the best story ever told in an MMO, like on par with just even Final Fantasy games. So I think that they've really hit a stride, and I really hope Stormblood's story it just continues to be like I'll say this. It's a well-kept secret that one of the best Final Fantasy games in years is Final Fantasy 14, if we're just talking story.
Ooh.
Dang.
It's good. It's good.
All right.
Cool.
So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. I asked you the other day, actually, like I guess it was like a month ago at this point. I was like, should I get...
I knew you were going to bring this up.
Final Fantasy 14 was on sale, and I was like, Steven, should I play Final Fantasy 14? And you were just like, no.
Because when people are like, Steven, should I play an MMO? Like, I spent, the first part of the show lamenting the fact that I play them. So I always tell people don't. You don't need it in your life. You're better off. Read a book. Go outside.
I want to play Final Fantasy with you. You are my friend. I don't want to make new ones.
If you play Final Fantasy, you will have 28 days worth of content to chew through before you're caught up to me.
Fuck. That's horrible.
All right. That's fair. X-Macho X-Man X asks, do you guys think that they will reveal more info on Cyberpunk? I think that's in reference to CD Projekt Red and E3. That's a good question.
I mean...
You guys talked about E3 a bit last week.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a crapshoot in my mind. Like it's a big maybe. They could, but also they've been pretty clear about the fact that Cyberpunk is like a long ways off still. Yeah. Like that game, I would not hold your breath for Cyberpunk. Not in saying that it will never come, just in that it's probably not going to come. Like I would expect a 2019 release date. And like maybe the end of 2019, like it's a far off game. Everyone is really hyped on it, and they already showed like a teaser trailer like a long time ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah, but like it is still a far off game. So maybe we'll get a little more for that, but
almost
maybe
impossible to really know one way or the other. So
I know it's hard. Just breathe deep and take a break from that game. Buttface Jones asks, Strafe bad? Why happen?
I don't know. Is it?
I've heard not great things.
Yeah, the vibe I've gotten, I actually haven't played Strafe yet. I know Evan's been playing it a bit, and we do have a review if you go to pcgamer.com/strafe-review. The vibe I've been hearing is that essentially it's like you'll enjoy it if you want just like another old school sort of shooter, but it's not bad, it's just not incredible, right? It doesn't do much to evolve that kind of genre. It just is like another one of those games. But
it does have the greatest full motion video ever.
Yeah, it's got some great
Really good
marketing
stuff.
and some great full motion video. So that is a plus of that game.
It makes sense though. I met those teams, and the guy who made it, his background is in video production.
That shows.
I think he used to work in advertising. So he's a really interesting dude.
Varendeel asks, Varendeel, who has a different colored name this week, much easier to read, asks, what would you say is the best game Paradox has developed?
I can't tell you. That's
Crusader
a
Kings
question.
2.
Whoa.
That's the one I hear about the most.
There's no other answer to that question. Crusader Kings 2, hands down. That's a game where you can like murder your son because he's blind and he's not a suitable heir.
Wow.
Like you can do some messed up things in that game. It's great. It's Game of Thrones simulator.
Nice.
And there's a Game of Thrones mod.
Boom.
Well, there is that answer. I was gonna. The thing that jumped to my mind was I was really happy with City Skylines, but I guess they didn't develop that. They just published it.
Yeah.
J. Blaze asks, in the spirit of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and the Telltale game, what's your favorite superhero game and movie? What thing or character from the movie/game would you most like to see in another space game?
In a space game?
What?
So, like, I think he's talking specifically about Guardians of the Galaxy stuff in space games. In terms of superhero games, this is going to be maybe a weird one but like there was a Spider-Man game. I can't remember.
Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that was like
that was my answer.
just had the best
classic.
web swinging ever, man.
Yep.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is like probably the best superhero game. I'm trying to think of like a good contender for
It had
that
some boring, bad shit in there too, but I mean the Arkham games are good.
Yeah.
But I guess he's not super. Is that like
No,
the thing?
he's a superhero.
Is he super?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Batman counts.
Don't ask. I don't know.
I'd go. I think the Spider-Man game is really good. I would also say that, and this is not a PC game, but the first Infamous, I was a big fan of the first Infamous.
Oh, yeah.
Was all comic booky and supposed to be superhero-y.
Well, he's asking the favorite movie too.
Movie, I have no idea. There's too many.
They're all pretty whatever.
Favorite superhero movie?
Yeah.
What's that like really cool found footage one?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, and I don't know.
It's like not, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not a part of a brand. It's just the one where the kids get superpowers, and then the kid goes maniacal, and it's pretty dark. It's all found footage. That one was really cool.
Yeah.
I don't really like Marvel or DC movies anymore.
Me
They're
either.
Kind of,
Sorry, man.
okay, but they're
Chronicle,
just kind of,
as the chat immediately reminded.
Chronicle was cool.
Also, Buttface Jones, while we were talking about Strafe and being like, it's not terrible, he says, counterpoint, it is actually bad.
And to be fair, Buttface Jones would know.
Yeah.
I assume you're playing it because Buttface Jones is always talking about Quake and all these old school shooters. So if Buttface Jones doesn't like it, that's
a shame.
Yeah.
We should append that to our review.
There should be a Buttface Jones like yay or nay on all our
Yeah.
FPS games.
Favis says Dread in terms of superhero movies.
Yeah.
But I don't really count the new Dread movie as a
I got
superhero
chastised
movie.
today because I've never seen the new Dread movie.
I'm still mad at you, actually.
Yeah. So apparently Dread's cool.
But that's like the new one is not a superhero movie. It's only a superhero movie because it like is Judge Dredd, right? Like that is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that counts as a superhero movie.
Okay.
I'm gonna be semantic.
You know what my favorite superhero show is? The PC Gamer Show, hosted by hero Tom Marks.
Get out. How do I cut his mic? Actually, I can't reach it from here. Damn it. I need a button.
Cute some music to start playing.
Yeah.
Wind Beneath My Wings.
No, the sad
Did you ever
walking
know
away
that you're
music
my hero?
from the Incredible
Those
Hulk.
lyrics snatch, man.
You can be my hero, baby.
Oh my God. We need to.
Kiss away the pain. I will stand by you forever.
This is from the dude.
Take my breath away.
This is from the dude who was embarrassed about singing in like an ARC roleplay server.
No, I was embarrassed because the only song that I could think of in the moment was Celine fucking Dion.
Yeah,
So
but
that's.
so
But also, I crushed
All right.
it. So wasn't that embarrassed?
well, Yeah, I feel like there are better superhero games out there too. There was one, oh my god, wait, actually there was one X-Men game.
Legends.
No. What?
I don't know.
I
just said a
like
thing
Marvel
that sounds
Ultimate
like
Alliance was fun.
Yeah, like all the kind of like Diablo style X-Men and Marvel games, I think a lot of those are actually pretty dang good.
There was a few like open world Hulk games that were pretty cool. City of Heroes, there we go. That's a good one. That'll get the crowd riled up.
Yeah. Heroes.
Yeah.
Huh?
City of Heroes is overrated. Oh.
Okay.
No.
Why don't we just
Anyway.
can't end the show with a take like that?
Too late.
Oh, right. Freedom Force. Do you guys remember Freedom Force?
I do. Yeah.
And the Third Reich, that was, or versus the Third Reich, that was a cool game.
But Freedom Force was a game I always mixed up with a game called Freedom Fighters, which was about...
for the PS2, it was Russia invades the States. Also a great game, though.
Yeah, prescient now. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We're actually running out of time now, so we got to go. We appreciate you being here. We will be back right here at twitch.tv/PCGamer Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific time, like clockwork. You can also catch us at youtube.com/PCGamer. Steven's just going to wave the whole time. Okay.
I did it too soon, and now I can't stop.
youtube.com/PCGamer, PCGamer.com/podcast. You can send an email at tom@PCGamer if you want to do that. You can see our Twitter handles below at Tom R. Marks, at my_beards, and at Steven Mesner. You can see these beautiful waving hands by just like backing up a little bit. Someone clip this and you can just watch it forever. There you go. Thank you very, very much. And we will see you. Just keep it going next week. Bye, guys.